theme class, as we come down to an end of Module 4, it's time to reflect on Module 3 and Module 4 and kind of what was learned and the overall takeaway. So going back to Module 3, the biggest things that we covered was definitely the communications. I mean, that was the whole thing we covered. So going back to the assignment, I did a local research for the communications that was done here, dealing with the unique situation as being an aircraft department. We communicate a lot with not only the air traffic control tower, but also the pilots and the aircraft as well. So with that, we used a lot of two-way radios. We have a loud voice to notify of the entire community if something large like a mass casualty was to happen, or aircraft was to crash off of the installation, or even if it was on the installation, notify them, not to come in the area, because we have, whether it's fire, EMS, law enforcement responding to stay out of the area so we can get a good response without dealing with any extra traffic. I also touched on the basis of hand and arm signals. It's kind of a lost way of communicating, I guess. For us, it works best on the fire grounds, just to be able to talk to the pilots, because sometimes the communication networks do fail. Just with the UHF and VHF, sometimes our radios don't link up quite with what they're using. So we have our technical manuals that they also touch bases on, that knows, if we need to tell them to shut off the engines, or if they have munitions on there, safety munitions, keep their hands on the steering wheel, so they don't accidentally use any of the fire bottles, or accidentally do something crazy. So that was pretty much that part of the communications. We also touched bases on social media. For this particular department, we don't use social media, like I stated, just for the fact that we're a military-based fire department, so it's kind of some weird rules of do's and don'ts with social media. So we kind of just stay clear of it in general. I have been a part of volunteer departments that rely on it heavily, especially for recruitment. They'll post interest when there's like an academy going on of all the cool training they're doing, and the certifications that you'll get out of it, and especially since it's free, you definitely use that heavily to get some of the younger people to volunteer for that. So that's pretty much a wrap on Module 3. Going into Module 4 was the NIMS and ICS. So the biggest takeaway for me was just kind of learning exactly where it came from. I always knew that we got it from wildland firefighting, and being here in the Quantico, DC area, we've definitely heard a lot of stories of how that got brought over during the 9/11. And some of my other classes I've taken during this degree, I've done a bit of research on the after-action reports of September 11th, and seen some of the issues that they had, people not reporting to the staging area when on scene, the communication errors that they had, and some of the things were so simple, it really could have saved many more lives if they had done those basic things and had something like the NIMS, an incident command system that had that structural that they needed. At the end of the day, it was a pretty chaotic event, so trying to get something in such short notice obviously wasn't able to happen. But overall, looking at the NIMS and ICS, seeing that it came back all the way back to World War II, when it was I believe it's called the LFO, I'm drawing a blank now, but they took it back from after World War II of the military command and structure to use that for wildland firefighting. Definitely makes sense, because it's a very similar chain of command style that the military uses. And the structure, when you have multiple fire teams doing multiple events at one time, it kind of all ties back to the same thing. So those are my biggest takeaways from Module 3, Module 4, and I definitely look forward to learning from the next two.